said, let me pick this leather sweatsuit.
Welcome, welcome.
Back, man.
What's up, brother?
You, man, what's going on with you?
Oh man, I'm excited today.
Man, that's a good one right here, dog.
We got a hell of a topic and we got a hell of a guest.
Yes, sir.
What's up, brother?
What's going on, fellas?
And we got a very dear friend, very dear brother, Keon Reynolds, joining us today.
Yep.
How you doing, man?
Oh man, I'm feeling great, man. Feeling revived after what took place
Yes, sir.
on Tuesday.
Yeah, which actually is what we plan to talk about today, but in our typical tune the fork fashion.
Yep. Yep.
And we are talking about the verses between the Locks and Dipset, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
We're going to flip it our way, though.
our way, yeah.
Sure.
Let's start off with just a agreement before we go like any further.
Okay.
We are all in agreement that the Locks killed that shit, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%.
And there's no discussion. We don't even have to start about who won and
Nah.
what. Okay.
And what happened?
What? So we're clear on that.
Crystal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because he does me a solid by keeping standards and setting baselines and shit.
Yeah,
Right.
defining terms, dog.
Yes.
Okay.
So when I saw it, I didn't really realize what was happening as I was looking at it. And it took a while for me to actually process what I witnessed and what I felt. And I saw so many things take place
Right.
on so many different levels.
Yep.
Well, I thought we could just kind of start with, and I'll open it up to just like you guys with what y'all thoughts and feelings were before kind of like leading into it and what your expectations were.
The thing, what struck me about the joint immediately and throughout is the level of confidence in what they were doing and how and their approach from the Locks, and the tightness of how they approached this whole thing, and then the contrast of that in Dipset, how it was really super loose, right, and sort of just very sort of casual, like it was a false sense of, it was more arrogance, like I'm just showing up, so I'm just gonna win because I showed up, right, and everybody loved me because I don't have to put together a thing. But the Locks, from the DJ to what they drop, when they drop, and how they approach each of those, and in their delivery of it, that's what struck me immediately. Like, wow, these dudes they were dead ass serious about what they was doing.
It was some other shit, right?
Right. I ain't gonna come in there with no do-rag on. I'm coming in here with some shorts, some Timbs, and a t-shirt, and I'm going to war with y'all. Right? That's what struck me
You're ready for a
off
fight.
the top. Yeah.
What about you, bro?
For me, it was I could immediately notice an attention to detail, a stage presence that was absent on the other side.
Even in their spacing.
Even in their spacing, their level of harmony. There were times where they knew each other's verses, and you remember, Dipset had their actual audio of their songs playing, and they rapped over them because they didn't know their verses.
Yep.
So there's a level of solidarity that I saw with the trio from Yonkers that I didn't see on the other side, and that's always going to stand the test of time.
Yeah.
Stage presence is one of those things that is forgotten.
Yeah.
And I don't think we as Generation Xers really transferred that fully to the following generations that are doing music.
Yep.
And you could kind of see it, even though Dipset is roughly around our age as well, or the same age as us, they have appealed to a much younger audience over the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was refreshing.
When I saw like motherfucking men, bro,
Yeah,
Clean. That's clean.
absolutely.
That's clean.
with male energy,
Yeah.
Yep.
unapologetic,
That's right.
Aggression.
Yeah.
aggression,
Yeah.
passion,
Power.
love,
Yeah.
prepared,
Yeah. Yeah.
purposeful, dog.
Yeah. Intentional.
I was moved at the level of maturity that exuded from them when they first motherfucking walked out, bro.
Yeah. That's
Oh,
deep
yeah.
because that's exactly what we was. Yeah. Yeah. That's heavy.
When
They
they
were in the
first
zone.
walked out.
Yeah.
You know what? It was kind of like that scene in 8 Mile at the end. You know, when Eminem Rabbit comes out there and the dude was just blocked everything out and he was focused. When Michael Buffer called them out,
Yeah.
there was a level of focus in those dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were coming to
Yeah.
win.
And it reminds me, it reminded me of just how important preparation is.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
even though we were sitting down to watch that on Tuesday, the battle for them began long before that night.
True.
And you could tell.
True. Yep.
And they were motherfucking ready.
And you know, I sent you the link, man. Tyler, the creator, was on Hot 97.
Yeah, I saw it.
Talking about, and he said you can just tell that they cared.
Yeah.
Like it mattered to them,
Right.
how they showed up in this. Like they just weren't going to walk out. They had everything, but also they still tour together. So that they have, you know, this sort of synergy already existing. But you're right, dog. They came out intentional and there was only a brotherhood that exists to have that level of when you're cohesive and you're locked in that way.
Yep.
You have to love the dude that you stand and to watch him shine. And there was some shots of like some shots when Jada was doing his thing and they were showing the other two. They were like admiring what this dude was doing. You know what I'm saying? They was feeling what he was doing.
Yeah.
And that only comes from when you really respect and love this dude that you done came up with.
And it's a classic example of what coming together like Voltron represents.
Yep.
So you got these motherfucking individual pieces that have value, they have purpose, they have special qualities
Right.
as individuals.
Yeah.
But when you come together, you have to understand like what part you play in the bigger piece.
Yep.
Amen.
And not be afraid to play that part and to be secure enough in your shit to let somebody else play.
Correct.
What none of them motherfuckers trying to be Jada.
Nope.
Right.
What none of them motherfuckers trying to be Styles
Right.
or Chic.
Right.
And they knew their roles.
They knew their roles and they knew the value of each of the motherfucking roles, bro.
Right. It was like if this was like Big Three basketball, Jada was your main scorer.
Yeah.
And if Jada was off, you know, he could dish it to Styles. Don't worry, I got your back on the scoring. And then with Sheik, I think people sleep on him so much.
Yeah.
Like that one guy on your team that's getting all these rebounds and blocks.
Yeah.
Playing
He
crazy
is that dude.
defense.
That's right.
Like
That's
there
right.
was a scene where he pulled Styles away from pulling a shoe off of
Yeah,
camera.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah.
And to me, that symbolized his purpose.
Right. He
Like,
it always
yeah.
felt like to me, dog, Sheik is the glue. That whole sort of
right.
that goes between everything and sort of hold everything on a strength level together. And he is underrated in terms of his value on that team.
So,
But he dope.
if I'm
No,
wrong,
he
Sheik
dope.
did the Gangster and the Gentleman, right? I be fucking forgetting names.
I think he did.
Yeah, he did. I think he did Gangster Gentleman and You Can Kiss My Ass. And
Okay.
And he had a nice joint over some R&B joints too back.
Yeah, like that
wow.
Gangster and the Gentleman, I fucked with.
Yeah.
He was the most vivid member of the Locks.
Yeah,
He was the most colorful to me. He was their ghost face.
That's what I was just about to say.
Yep. He was their ghost face.
Yep.
But the way how he just was kind of like the enforcer
Yeah.
like no one could get between them as long as he was there.
Yeah.
And then there were times where he would jump in and back him up, and they were all three harmoniously knowing each other's rhymes. So there was a scene where there was a Showbiz and AG instrumental that was dropped, and all three of them went in there. I mean, I caught flashes of Run DMC back in the day. And then this also reminded me of epic moments, game-changing moments in this particular culture. I was thinking of the Latin Quarters and the Bridge Wars. And
Wow.
That's heavy.
you know, and if you know Jadakiss, I know that he grew up studying Big Daddy Kane and KRS-One, and I thought I saw a man channeling KRS-One.
And you're right, dog. It was as good as Jadakiss was. I mean, as God bodies he was individually. Together, they did have those Run DMC clean exchanges where they, backed each other up and they went back and forth and they had this wordplay that was clean, like
and the
flawless.
DJ and the DJ and
backbone.
like that motherfucking like the
Timing,
the
dog.
chemistry and the time
That's
in
right.
between them and the DJ is what really elevated that shit to really embody that Run shit, because it was just like they knew, like in some of the times you heard he would be talking and Tech would drop a beat without even motherfucking being asked.
He would tune him up with that. He'd drop a little hint.
And it was almost like Tech, because it did get a little loose sometimes because they was talking back and forth. But Tech knew when because as soon as they heard the beat, they locked right back into what they were doing. So and it was like he knew that. He knew once he did that, they would lock right back in.
And so, as much as we've gone away from the principles of hip hop culture in these last 40 years, that showed you right there that the DJ is the most important pillar
and it's
of
still
those elements.
And it's still there.
Still there.
It still exists. I think there was a narrative that it doesn't, right? But it still exists.
Right.
It ain't obviously ain't never gone nowhere.
No. Like there were times where he would do a dropout where he would take and give him an a cappella moment. And that was incredible. And if you're the audience watching this, it's kind of like the whole the Baptist church effect, right?
You're right.
When they were coming together, like you were saying, harmoniously and sync.
Yeah.
And the DJ's taking the beat out and cutting it at times, and the whole entire audience there at Madison Square Garden hears them together. It captivates them.
Yep,
it's kind of like the Holy Ghost moment.
Yep, it was a flawless show, dog.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, from top to bottom.
There is an ingredient that I feel separates, I don't want to say separates, that elevates the quality of something. And I think it's a combination of all of the ingredients combined that actually form something else. And that's what I feel the definition of chemistry actually is.
Right.
Like taking these materials or substances or people that have value as individuals, and then understanding how they can fit together, and then actually going out and putting them together to like form this thing. It's something that I feel Wu-Tang did a really motherfucking good job with doing.
Yeah.
Right.
And to see the Locks do that, man.
Yeah.
Like I feel if Jada even came out there on his own, it would have been a different thing.
Right.
Yep.
So when I sit back and I hear people talk about like top 5 and these things, it's like, is a part of what makes him great. The chemistry he has with the other two.
Yeah. The
And
power
could
that
he
gets from
actually
them.
be, if we're going to give him a top 5 or top 10, I want to get to that point at some point.
Right.
Could he be that alone?
I think he could have.
I'm trying to think
I
if
think
I
he
ever
could have. Here's why I say it. You got to remember, this ain't his first rodeo in the verses. he had one against Fabulous a few months back where he was unprepared, where he was drunk. He still won
I didn't
it.
see that. I didn't see that.
He had all yellow on. And
This is my first versus I've ever watched, by the way.
Word?
Yeah, I ain't watched a single one.
Yeah, I
this
do
wasn't on the
remember that.
level of competitiveness that we witnessed. Now, this was a typical one where they're celebrating each other's catalogs. But Jada was clearly unprepared. He maybe wasn't taking this as seriously. I mean, he won, by most people's opinion, but he was pissy drunk, and there was a lot of memes of him that were shared in the stratosphere of social media.
Oh, wow.
And so I think after he witnessed that, even though he won, by public opinion, there was a level of focus this time where he wasn't drunk going in there. He wasn't faded. He was crisp. He was focused, and he was ready. He had a sense of redemption. And I think that's a human element, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I saw.
Did you
that
see
expressed.
Did you see the Jada Fab joint?
I did. I saw. I don't think I've ever watched one all the way through, but I've seen like all the pieces, and yeah. But to his point, though, do you think that the reason why he came so differently is because he had the other two? Like, he was able to form that Voltron, but without them, he really couldn't form. The energy was just different. He really couldn't form it like he, because I'm trying to think of all the time that I've seen Jadakiss alone.
Yeah.
Right, and he has. We all know
He got
Jadakiss
bars.
dope. Yeah,
That's
we
a
all
good
know he's
point.
dope. But I've never seen him to this delivering at this level. And I've seen him live maybe 3 times. And he's, again, let's not, ever dispute his greatness and his dopeness.
Right.
But to elevate to where he was, I think it has something to do with the other two. Because Styles is a monster by itself.
Monster.
You know what I'm saying?
Monster.
So you know what? Great point. I don't think you would have seen a combative Jadakiss.
And he was
very
mad.
aggressive.
He was mad.
Because I think that's an intangible that we're injecting
Yeah.
to even elevate him. And it's not like, because there's a lyricism, putting words together. A word is a motherfucking word.
Right.
Like,
Right.
your energy, your conviction,
Yeah.
when you say it, how you say it, timing, all of these other things that are being added in that create this feeling of the viewer to be like, ooh.
Yeah.
Like, and that's more than just what you say.
That's right. That's right.
And to know I have my 2 brothers
Right.
that have been with me since childhood by my side to have my
Right.
back.
And
Like
to
the
be
one-
able to convey that through a screen is hard.
Hard as a motherfucker.
But that came through like, I mean, I've never seen anything like that, dog.
I thought there was going to be a couple of moments where we were going to see some fisticuffs.
It should have been.
And that's what I love about it. That's one of the things that I also loved about it. Because even though we sit on this motherfucker, bro, and we talk about love and sing ourselves and harmonious and putting our shit to the side, I still got that fucking nigga up energy.
I always say I reserve the right.
And there are moments.
I was happy to see it, to be honest.
Man, it was like when he said pussy ass nigga, I was like,
From the jump.
Yeah.
jet.
oh shit. And that was Chic, right? I think who said it?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is the recourse?
Oh, man.
Like, cause I'm like, cause the brothers, dog,
Right.
pussy ass nigga doesn't get, other than that, it's like calling your mama a bitch.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like they're like neck and neck. You just
it's right there.
calling a dude a pussy ass nigga just ain't something. Even in joking, it's
Right.
not what
Or
you
you
do.
call another man a coward directly.
Bro.
Something like that.
Yeah, and they were on all of that. And I don't think Dipset was, I don't think that they was ready for that level of intensity that them dudes brought. Because
When
they
you-
didn't have that same energy.
Nah.
Bro, let's got to keep this clean too. The niggas was late.
Yeah.
They didn't come out on time.
Yeah.
And then when they did come out, they had all these motherfuckers on stage and they, like, what does that say though?
Man, there was a nigga on the stage with a bag that said jeans, a retail bag. I'm like, what the heck? Who is he?
He just came from store. I don't know. I don't know what that, and again, it goes back to, is that just who they are? Or, you know what I'm saying? Because I've never seen Dipset live. I've never seen Cam rap other than that BT basement joint he did back in the day when he was counting money, which was probably the best I've seen Cam. It just didn't seem like that they even gave a fuck. They just felt like, I don't know what they felt like, dog. It's wrong for me to say that. But it just, like, it wasn't intense. They weren't focused on this thing in front of them at all.
They don't have chemistry. They don't have that thing, like, where once, because that's a group. Can we just fucking agree to that?
Right.
A group is individuals coming together to create something that they couldn't make without the others.
Multiple things, because they've done it over and over and over.
Yes.
Again. Right.
And that thing is what you're creating.
Right.
But you can tell they're spending time with each
The
other.
locks. And you could tell that those were just individuals on stage.
That's right. They might know each other. They know each other.
They know each other.
We cool, but that's it.
They know what each other's vices are and all of that, but their energies are not in sync for whatever the reasons are. But you could tell.
And Freaky Zeke, have I
talk
ever
about
heard
that.
a Freaky
Bro,
Zeke record?
Now, mind you, I'm not a Dipset aficionado. Does he rap?
I've never heard a Freaky Zeke record. I've always heard references to him.
He's like their Tony Yayo.
But at least Tony Yayo had a joint.
But did Freaky Zeke ever have an album?
No, not that I recall. I think maybe some mixtapes.
I think he went to jail or something at some point.
Yeah.
Okay.
But still, I didn't understand why he was the focus of the space.
But man, he had them uncle like dance routines down at the cookout, right? He had a couple of them.
And that kind of threw me, like, what is happening? Like, what? It was just so.
And he was aggressive. I mean, he was being aggressive.
But the difference is the Locks had a laser focused energy on what they were doing.
It was Jedi level,
their energy was just all over the place.
Right.
It was you're right. The group, it was the Locks. It wasn't Cam and Jules and all. It was the Locks, and that was it. Jadakiss he just shot above everything, but it was the Locks.
This was like Green Berets.
Man, it was crazy.
Like, it was crazy, man. That kind of. Then there was a scene where, you remember this, where I was like, something's gonna go down, when he grabbed Jules' bandana
and threw it on the ground. That was classic.
There was something symbolic there, and I felt like that was a Generation X moment to take it to the following generations, to say or convey, hey, look, you didn't take what we gave you seriously. I'm throwing this down on you.
But do you think, I always ask that question, right? And this might be quite a bit of a tangent. I don't know whether it's like, and there's always a conversation about the next generation and how they don't and all that, right? Mm-hmm. But I think that a couple things happen. We stop being the gatekeepers of the genre, right? So now someone else is determining who is hot and who is not. And that someone else doesn't have the same value or energy towards this thing that we do. So they're going to pick.
They're probably not even from the culture.
Right, exactly. And I say this like in my most paranoid black man stance.
Yep.
They who are not from the culture, like they black people a certain way.
Yeah.
So they're gonna pick, oh no, I don't know, he too strong and he too, you know what I'm saying? I ain't saying positive or negative, any of that.
Right.
He's just too aggressive. Let me pick someone like this. I like my black people drugged out and halfway singing and saying crazy shit.
Right.
I like them like this. Let me do this. Oh, Lil Wayne was doing that thing. That was his style for a minute. Let me follow up on this and get 10 more like this.
Yeah.
Right? So we aren't. So it's plenty of Jadas out there, right? But the people who are gatekeeping aren't picking those.
True.
So you're just seeing the ones that they kind of pull through.
Yeah.
And that's what we think is the generation, when it's not. It's just the ones that they decided to pick.
Because when you listen to this new young cat, I might not get his name right. YBN Corday or whatever his name is, the light-skinned dude, I think from like Maryland.
Yeah.
He's cold.
Yeah, he's nice.
It's a
Yeah.
couple of them. Yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
he's nice. Yeah.
He's real cold, but and he's kind of like bubbling up. I think we're going to see, it's going to be easy to see the shit.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's like when you find a gem.
That's right.
You got to look for a motherfucking
You get to
diamond.
my point. The advent of technology changed right when those two groups were out. So this era was what, 98 to around 2005. Think about it. Social media was in its infancy at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
We were just getting into MySpace around that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
And so right around then, at that moment, everything changed when YouTube became a common ground.
Yeah.
People were putting their own independent stuff out. They didn't see the need to be on a major label.
Yeah.
There was a new monetary way to survive in this game without being dependent on a label. So everything that followed, there really wasn't that much attention to detail. And in certain cases, there wasn't attention to detail. And then there were avenues for the guys of the past or the underground guys to make a decent living off their core audiences with no major label involved. But it just put a lot of pressure on fans to have to dig for it. They had to dig deeper for it.
And then, I mean, so to that point, and again, I think we're a little bit off topic, but that's cool.
Yeah.
I think at some point it moved, once that shift happened, like the Soulja Boy thing, shout out to Short. I mean, I
The
can't
mumble
blame him.
rappers came.
Right, he was 16. I mean,
Yeah,
over 16
he's supposed to
years
do
old.
that.
Right, exactly. So once that happened, right, and that social media thing became, now labels can just grab anybody and put anything out. So that's what and then you had blogs who were not of the culture saying what's hot. Okay, we like him, and they shut the door on artists from, you know what I'm saying, from before 2002. So except for a few, you had your, you know, Clips and Hoves and all that kind of made it through. But there were people choosing, and they were choosing what they thought they wanted to see and they weren't of the culture. So we lost the ability to even say what's dope and what's not dope.
And
and
I got to go back to the brother Fat Joe, and I might not get the 3 right. And I was going to look, but I ain't got my goddamn notes. He said before COVID, New York was suffering from 3 plagues. Ego, pride, and money. And so one of the things that actually stood out was that I felt what was there was just, light was actually just shed on it. The internet is light.
Yeah.
The core of who them motherfuckers are there.
Right.
So when you look at the Yonkers niggas, they got a certain way in which they move.
True.
When you look at the Harlem niggas, like when you hear people talk about motherfuckers from Harlem, they say that's Harlem.
They are
Right?
they're different.
They say that's Harlem. Jim Jones with a leather sweatsuit on, Jewels with the Louis and the Gucci and
Cam.
the
He had a
Cam.
full coat. It was August.
Cam.
Am I missing
They
something?
say that's Harlem. So a light gets shed on it to expose what's already there. So then, and this has been happening over a decade, 15 years, whatever the case may be. And now you get to a point where the light has been constantly shed on Yonkers, what that looks like, the people that come from there, Harlem, what that looks like, the people that come from there, and then you actually, the light is shed on both at the exact same time. And then you actually get to see the contrast side by motherfucking side.
So you feel,
Okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, let's let these niggas do what they want, how they want, and let's see how they show up. Now let's let these niggas do what they want, see what they do, and how they show up.
Y'all be the judge.
Now, they been this way.
True.
Tuesday just shed light on it.
Sure did.
So it don't matter, like because all them niggas been traveling roads, bro, to lead to there. And when they show up, when they said game time, they could have went into the fucking closet and picked anything.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
They said, let me pick this leather sweatsuit.
Yeah.
Let me pick this Louis V motherfucking trench
Let
coat
me get all these.
in August.
Yeah.
Why? These motherfuckers locks praying before it apparently and stuff like that come out, just them two. Yeah, they jeweled up, they ready, they crispy, they blinged out and shit, but they was focused on something very specific.
Yep.
And you could tell,
craft.
and what Dipset was focused on was something very specific,
Right.
and you could tell.
Yeah, it was.
If they were separate, bro, if they came out on different days and did different shit, we probably wouldn't have even seen the contrast.
Yeah. Right.
If the Locks performed on Tuesday and then Dipset performed on Friday, we wouldn't have even seen it.
Right.
You had to actually see them motherfuckers side by side to see just how wild
But you know,
that shit looked.
It couldn't have been more opposite.
Couldn't have been in
And that's
every
amazing.
way.
And that's amazing.
Imagine if Locks, and I know I'm ranting. Imagine if the Dipset, it was just them alone and they were late. We would just be like,
Okay.
them niggas is late.
Yeah.
Like everybody else is late.
Yep.
Right.
But nah, you got some on times. You got 3 dudes walking out as a group by themselves.
And talking
Where
that
the
shit.
fuck is Cameron?
And talking
He
that
come
shit.
out an hour and a half later while everybody always out there with a goddamn beach
With a
chair.
beach chair.
You're relaxing, bro. These motherfuckers came
That was
with
hilarious.
Dracos.
Right.
And you
Right.
just,
Right.
but you know what? We needed this though.
We
right?
did.
This was like, it was like WWE,
Sorry for the rant.
man. It was like WWF growing up, watching Ric Flair, Randy Savage, and all that stuff we grew up watching as kids, executed in a fundamental hip hop way. And New York needed this. I ain't gonna say hip hop really needed it because everybody's taken that torch in their respective cities and have done it their own way, right? There's no identity crisis in LA. There's no identity crisis in Chicago or in the Deep South. But in New York, over the last 15 years, I mean, we've seen an identity crisis. We see these guys that are coming out because they're envious of what these other regions have done with the art and money they've made, that they're mimicking them. And it's not even their identity.
but the identity is shifted though, Key, because now it's not necessarily about sound. Everybody sounding like the South now for the most part, right?
Right.
Now I
Pretty much.
think it's about it. The identity is authenticity. We are having an authenticity crisis.
Yeah.
So when you look and see on Tuesday what the fuck happened, that's a crisis of identity. Them niggas don't know who they are. And they are struggling to figure it out.
Yep.
And they are struggling to come to terms with what getting old looks like,
Yeah.
embracing
Embracing their real age. They're all the same age.
maturity. Everybody the same age.
Yeah.
Embracing all of that. So these niggas is stuck.
Jules is 39 years old.
But
Bro.
do you think that, dog? So I agree, and both of you, what y'all saying is clean. But do you think that just in hearing their music, even at the time, there was no real.
Come down. She's gonna jump. Come down. Thank you.
There was no, like, to me, the Locks always had, their sound was very focused on the craft of bars,
Yeah.
right?
it was.
And Diddy and Swiss had to formulate these hits around these bars of these guys, these heat rocks that they was throwing.
Right.
Dipset has always been around this idea of Dipset. So they could just make anything, right? And then it could be, and then it ain't got to be based in bars. It's just based in them being Dipset. I mean, they got songs that they just, all they say is dip, set, over and over and over again.
But what's the product though? The product is the persona.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So in how they showed up Tuesday, that's just how they get down. Do you think that, I'm gonna ask you this. Do you think that, let's say Cam was like, you know what, y'all, we need to make sure that we are focused on and we rehearse and we doing, do you think they had showed up any different?
But see, that's why the only reason we're having this motherfucking conversation is because of the contrast.
Right, true.
We wouldn't even be talking about this shit if they were on separate days.
Yeah.
Separate days.
The fact that they were there and you could see the contrast,
Right.
that's the only to me.
Yeah.
Like you can see how stark the contrast is
that's wild.
between persona-based product
Right.
and bar-based product.
This is why.
Exactly.
And they were side by side, and you could see the fraudulent nature and essence of what entertainment looks like and what artistry looks like.
That is dog.
That
That is
shit, it was
That's
side
it.
by side.
That's the silver lining right there.
That
And that's
is
why
it.
we're going to be talking about this
That is it.
a year or two later.
But I hope that point is understood moving forward. Like
do too.
that when people who are artists look at that and understand that I could be just as hard and just as popular or just as make just as much of an impact being an artist and focusing on my craft than I can with just being this persona.
Right.
And Tyler Creator was speaking.
That's just what I was getting ready to say.
You know what I'm saying?
That's just the point.
He was like, I've been doing this for 10 years and I'm still here and I'm doing my way. You know what I'm saying?
It's going to matter, bro, to the people it's supposed to matter to.
Clean.
Because the industry and rewards entertainment
Right.
just as much, if not more, than artistry.
It rewards coonery.
And there's a balance between the two. So like Kendrick is an artist and an entertainer.
Right.
Kanye is an artist and an entertainer. There are very few that actually kind of go between, but because you can make millions just focused on like entertainment. We love to be entertained, right?
Right.
So there are people who are like straddling the fence,
Right.
who can see what we saw
Right.
and be like, nope, I want to be them niggas.
Right. Right.
You know
Right.
what? That's a good point. And I
Right.
think
Right.
I'm really hoping that there's aspiring artists that are coming through the ranks right now that watch that, and you know they watched it. And typically they tune us out, right? You know, granted, you know, we tuned out certain things in the past too when we were that age, but they watched that. I mean, hell, Migos was in the front row.
Bro, how old is Tyler? 30?
He's 30 now.
He gets it.
Yeah.
This is my
Yeah.
point.
Ben got it. Yeah.
He can be our child.
Yeah.
It's real talk.
He gets it.
Yep.
So but we can see it in his work.
Right.
To those who are supposed to see it,
Right.
they're going to see it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm cool with that.
All it takes is one though. So if there's
Yeah.
like 1 million kids that watch that versus, and 10 of them got some level of inspiration on how to take their craft seriously, that's a success.
But I also hope, man, that there is a way for, and I think that there is, like, I think that, like what we just talked about, finding gems and being able, because the internet has made it so easy to find
Shit.
the greatest of things and the worst of things, right?
Yeah.
But then there's still a machine that exists, a record label machine that feeds what they want to feed to the masses of people, and they're still receptive.
they
to
figured
But you
out
know
what
what?
sells.
But you know what the machine is now, bro?
It's an algorithm.
The algorithm.
That's right.
It's the motherfucking YouTube.
That's right.
And
And the Spotify's and all that.
Machine learning.
let me ask y'all a question. These niggas are going to represent like classes of things. Like you could be like, oh, look at that nigga got that Dipset car. Look at that nigga, he got like it's going to. So let me ask you a question.
That Dipset car. Oh man.
Does the Dipset know that they're the Dipset? Or do
don't
they
think so.
think they're the Locks?
Look,
and
they
don't
ain't
give.
even a group.
No. I'm talking. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Do-
And yes. They think, they believe, and deeper than that, it's a rack of dudes in New York who believe
That they're the
Dipset
locks.
are the locks.
This is what I mean.
And will
Okay,
fight you.
wait. You got to explain this to me.
Okay,
'cause
so
that went over my head.
I'm perusing the internets, right?
Okay.
And there are podcasts and interviews of people who feel like, and before this happened, feel like that Dipset is better.
Yeah, I saw some of that.
And I mean, they were naming songs and hits and Cam's one of the greatest of all time.
Right.
Conversations as if the Dipset, and again, they've always shown up that way. Every
Yes.
time I've seen them, they've been wild and
Yup.
I can't even.
I know you hate that shit.
Yeah. I hate that drop.
I want to
So
start.
they think that that they are equal in that, or that Dipset is better in that way.
So that's what I mean. Like when you are the corny nigga in the club,
Yes.
you don't know you're the corny nigga in the club.
Yes.
So that's
Especially
what
when
I
you with
mean.
a whole crew of corny niggas in the club.
Does Dipset know their Dipset? Because
Do you mean, do they know that the corny niggas in the club?
It's
they're,
them.
it's them.
Shit.
Because here's
Fuck me up.
here's what I be thinking. Here's what I be thinking, right? Because this is what
I had to think about that, bro.
this is what scares me.
Oh man.
Am I Dipset?
Man, I think I'm Dipset.
At points in my life.
You could be.
But see, here's
Of course.
This is how we keep the shit clean. So
Real shit.
I gotta be Dipset in certain
point.
environments,
yeah.
and I gotta be the locks.
I think I am Dipset sometimes.
The here's what I feel we have to keep focus on. It is only the contrast that makes it so obvious.
Right.
We're not walking into environments and splitting and living alternate paths of this is how we're going to actually show up and this is how we want to show up. We're doing things in a singular manner
Right.
where we don't have a contrast or a comparison.
Yeah.
But can we compare from like knowing that you showed up as Dipset has it only matters, you only know it because you showed up as the locks.
Right. So how do you? We would have to compare
Right.
the differences.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we comparing Dipset against Dipset.
Wait a second. True. Cameron wasn't trying to show up as Dipset. That's why he was late. He's got beef with those dudes half the time.
So
He knew he was showing up. Once he got there, he was completely Dipset. So that's part of Dipset.
And he's
but that's
all
Dipset.
part of it.
Like even his. So are we showing up fragmented?
All that's clean. All that's clean. Yes.
These individuals. So what I said, the locks represent something very specific, as does the Dipset. You can only really see the contrast or the differences when they're side by side.
True. And the other thing is this. We got to think about location, right? This is Madison Square Garden. This is Midtown Manhattan.
It was more Harlem niggas in there than it was anybody.
It's a shorter trip.
It's there.
Yonkers is way up above the Bronx.
But it was more Harlem motherfuckers in there. And
There's more Harlem people.
guess
there.
what they did though? What they do? Who they boo?
They booed Cam at the end.
Yep.
Them his people.
Right.
That's how much
When
they
he tried
saw.
to freestyle, they booed
Right.
him.
Right.
But I'm saying, if you think about Yonkers, they're kind of like, if I could put this into something that I can relate to, how we in Philly have always felt when we're dealing with New York City cats back in the golden era. Like, we brought a lot of innovations to the game. Gangster rap, that started in Philadelphia, Transformer scratches, blah, 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 blah. And we knew that was the Mecca. And Yonkers, they just never seemed to always get the credit, or they were on the outside looking in. And so when they got into that game, whether it's DMX, the Locks, or Mary J. Blige, they had a certain level of a chip and underdog pit bull on their shoulder.
And
And I saw that on Tuesday.
dog, they could have been from the moon. The way they came in that motherfucker, it wouldn't have mattered where they was from, because they was in Cam's backyard. How the Locks showed up, dog, is beyond. And you're right.
And they weren't drunk.
Right. They were focused.
Yeah.
They were healthy. They were focused. Because I saw a video of Jada doing pull-ups after the joint was over.
Yeah. Yeah.
He said it. I'm here for battle.
Yep. Yeah. And you're
We're
right, dog.
showing,
How do we show up like that?
and this is the tune the fork fashion.
Yeah.
I can only talk so long about some other niggas.
Right.
Because my vibe and my spirit start fucking. I'm like, I'm thinking about niggas too much. It just don't feel right.
I don't like it.
Word.
I don't like it.
I don't like it.
Word.
How am I showing up? Am I showing up to opportunities prepared, focused,
Yeah.
ready to execute, anticipating risks, mitigating risk, having a broad enough view of the landscape that I'm walking into to excel at my best? Or am I just dipsetting this shit?
But let me ask you this.
Acting like I'm the locks.
If you're,
I see what you mean by that.
is it inevitable that you dipset it? But is the key recognizing that you're dipsetting
That's
it?
it.
And then making the
The
adjustment?
key is to, so you're going to always be dipset.
At
And when
some
do you
point.
figure it out?
This is,
When do you figure it out?
now, sometimes you gonna figure that shit out real time.
Or
Right.
someone's going to have to figure it out for your ass.
Well, you get to determine.
Yeah.
You
almost
none of
have
us
to.
know how much motherfucking the locks prepared, but
Right.
they do.
Yeah.
We don't know how many motherfucking conference calls they did or how many
Now,
practice sessions they
had a
did.
rehearsal. I know that.
But what I'm saying is, the outside will never know what the inside did.
Yeah.
So somebody else telling us what we did, and if we put our all, we know if we dipset some shit. And we're going to know if we loxed it. As the individual, we're gonna know.
Yeah.
You know, like when you prepare for a meeting, bro, like when you got a presentation that you gotta do,
Yep.
Yeah.
you know how much motherfucking time and energy. You
Man.
know how many times you went through and looked at the motherfucking PowerPoint, if you practice it out loud, if you change this, and other motherfuckers can tell too.
Right.
Just like how we can tell that the locks prepared.
Yeah.
How much they prepared, we don't know.
You
Yeah.
know what's so crazy?
And-
Half this country been dipsetting it working from home. You know?
I get more shit done working from
I
home.
do too.
I'm more focused than I am working office. But also, dog, because I immediately thought of like DJing. Sometimes you go into a space and you are completely unprepared. You walk in there off the strength that this is your spot, right?
You loxed it.
You dipset the shit at first.
Yep.
But then at some point something clicks in and you're like, I'm stinking this motherfucker up. Let me
Yeah.
get my shit together.
Yeah.
And then you get into
Right.
a different space.
I think Cam
But
tried
the
to
only
do
reason
that.
why you get into that different space is because you recognize that you dipsetting the shit.
Well,
And-
yeah.
That's crazy.
And
Sometimes you don't.
what was I getting ready to say?
I think Cam realized that everybody was dipsetting it. He was the only guy there that had real MC and chops.
And
he
that's
tried
the
to take
thing.
it.
And what I loved about the locks at the moment, at that moment specifically, Jada, bro, is he knew they was dipsetting it. He was like,
Early.
Talking that
y'all
shit the whole
rapping over the lyrics. Y'all could have stayed in your car and listened to this
Apple
shit on
Music.
Apple Music.
That was crazy.
He knew they was fucking.
Y'all live in Miami. What you mean this is your backyard?
Early. He smelled the blood in the water early and did not let up
Yeah.
on them
Kept
until
going.
He was like, these niggas is food. Like I'm getting ready to
he
eat.
said the game is fixed.
these
The
niggas
fight
are
is
fixed
fixed.
fight.
We already knew.
These niggas is lip syncing.
He said they lip syncing. That's the most disrespectful shit.
As a rapper, you ain't Mariah Carey. I can understand
Yeah.
lip syncing,
Man.
but rapping, you gonna lip sync rap,
And
bro?
he stayed there. He was in that lane the whole 2 hours.
And they could not. And what could they
Talking
say to that?
shit. He
What
said,
could say
he
that?
said, I'm not gonna let a nigga beat me with leather pants on. Come on, man.
So what is he wearing?
He was not like that, and he didn't. The thing about Jada, dog, and to the larger point about when you're in that space, Jada was powerful and passionate and intense and strong, but not emotionally out of control.
Nope.
Like there was never a point where
That's a good point.
whenever he was saying to them, got like to where he was like
He never lost composure.
right. And when he got back to rapping,
Yeah.
he was always on the
Damn,
mark.
pinpoint.
You know what I'm saying? When he was like, "Tech, let's make something happen," after he talked about the lip syncing, he went right. I mean, there was no loss of anything, of any focus of what he was doing, dog. And that piece right there is under that amount of pressure. He's in Harlem.
What was the?
It's 45, it's 69 people on the stage. 90% of them were Dipset people. He did not waver, dog. And it was even looking at him. His body language, he did not look nervous. He did not look moved. He knew that he was coming to that joint to murder everybody in the room.
Yeah.
So I want to ask y'all this: at what point did you think they hijacked the crowd and took the crowd to them?
Who?
The Lox. At what point?
For me, it was the y'all, he pussy y'all neighbor.
Yeah.
That was huge.
And the DJ scratched out of that motherfucker. And
That was nuts.
The Who Shot You?
that right there, I was like, okay,
It's over.
this is it.
I think the crowd knew that too.
And
Everybody
he
in the
slammed
room.
the mic.
That's when when he
he threw the mic?
brought the shit back and then he threw the mic down, I was like, they not coming back.
That was rough, man.
Dipset knew they lost.
Yeah.
But to be honest, they knew they lost before the fight.
You
They
could see it in
knew
the eyes.
you could they wasn't there, bro. They was there, but they wasn't.
And they saw that their crew, like all four of them, I don't even know how many, it was four of them?
Yeah, so they had a juggler
All
on stage.
four of them was not on their A game, did not have the shit together early on, even waiting for Cam to come back.
They didn't know the words.
Right.
Yeah.
They forgot the word.
Come on, dog.
They just stand there and letting the crowd do the words for them. I
Man.
said, what the hell is this?
So
That's crazy.
the lesson that I learned, I read a book. I got a book back there called From Niggas to Gods. A dude wrote it when he was in jail. And he literally wrote this book like a nigga would write a book in jail. So the words in the book are like him talking. So like how you be like, I mean, the other day, either you gonna do this or you ain't. It's all up to you. The paragraphs are written as such, right? But one of the things that stood out to me most in the book was, how do you know when something is dead? And he said, because you know what it's like to be alive, meaning that there is a comparison, there's a contrast.
Yep.
A lot of the things that we're actually contrasting are outside of us, which have different metrics.
Yeah.
What we really should be contrasting is our yesterday. In my mind.
Yeah.
So progress doesn't necessarily mean better.
Right.
It just means you're at a different spot than you were the day before.
Right.
Now, but the contrast is to you and your work and your effort and your energy and your time and all of that from prior. And if we could take ourselves and our life experiences and put them up side by side, the way we saw Dipset and the Lox, what would that look like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Like
where would
really,
the
truly.
And where would the shifts be? Well, how would we identify when we were the Lox and when we were Dipset and why?
Because we might be the Dipset in our relationships with our women, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coming in ill prepared,
Yeah.
making motherfucking excuses,
Yep.
not planning, not putting attention and focus into shit,
Not being intentional.
not being intentional.
And coming in with the arrogance that I showed up. And
Yeah,
that's enough.
you know, exactly.
Yep. Not being thoughtful.
And the woman
Yeah.
got a contrast.
Yeah.
But shit,
And
don't-
God forbid she say it, bitch.
Yeah.
but dog, don't.
But the contrast she see is us though. She see what we look like committed.
Okay.
Yeah.
We don't see what we look like.
I thought you were saying she is the contract.
No,
Yeah.
she has a contrast
So she
to
can
you.
see both.
She like,
She can see you being a locks, but she can see you showing up with her being Dipset.
but we can't see it in ourselves.
She can't see. Yeah.
True.
Yeah. Yep.
So our women sometimes are seeing Dipset, saying, "Ah, nigga, I know what the locks do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You showing up Dipset right
Right.
now."
Right.
But for us to show up like the locks requires work in that particular area.
Yeah.
That we gonna make a ton of motherfucking excuses for not putting in the work
Yep.
to actually show up in that way.
It's about conveying your plan to her too.
Well, it's about first recognizing that you're showing up like Dipset, and then recognizing, understanding why the fuck you showing up like Dipset,
Yep.
and then doing the work to be the locks, doing the preparation and all that shit. And none of that shit happens overnight, man. That shit is it's a process.
And it's the hardest thing to realize, to recognize when you're the self-reflection.
Dog, when you
To know your Dipset.
can you imagine you waking up and realizing you
You
the nigga
Dipset.
in the motherfucking do-rag and the Louis Vuitton coat
Right.
in August? Can you imagine just having that realization?
You
Right.
gotta go back to sleep. You gotta, if you wake up one day
up.
in the bed and you be like, I'm Dipset. And listen to this, bro. I'm Dipset in life.
Right.
That's
Right.
crazy. And you said
Right.
Fat
You're-
Joe 3 things, right? One of those was pride, right?
Ego.
You've had an issue with pride and ego.
Ego, yeah.
You got to swallow your pride and realize
Bro.
you're Dipset.
Man. You got
Or
to throw that
you
shit
can
in trash.
ignore that motherfucker and Dipset it
going.
out.
Just lean
put
into
your-
it.
Just lean with it.
I'ma
And put
lean
your
into
leather
the
pants
Dipset.
on.
That's when I go to leather suit.
So it's, and this is one of the reasons why I actually love our space and what we create, because and why the opportunity to talk about other people is just used as a catalyst to really bring it back to ourselves.
Right.
Because everything we see is a reflection of us.
Yep.
It's just a matter of what we're
Right.
reflecting back to and how we're using that opportunity to do something different in our own lives.
Size and proportion, dog. Everything that you look at, you can bring it back to you in size and proportion.
Because we can laugh at that nigga all goddamn day long for having on that motherfucking Louis coat in August.
In August.
We are wearing a Louis coat in August
But I-
at some point, at some place in our life.
And I didn't take him seriously till he took it off and just came out with a black t-shirt
And
on.
somebody ain't taking us seriously.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's clean, dog. That is
Somebody we're walking around this motherfucker literally in a leather sweatsuit.
Yeah.
But here's the thing,
Yeah.
though. We can be the locks,
Yeah.
but we need to understand that we're the Dipset.
You
Motivated.
gotta accept
That's the
that
contract.
first.
That's right. You gotta accept it.
That's the hardest
part.
And that's what I mean when I say,
Because when
does
you're
the Dipset
Yeah.
know they're the Dipset?
but being the Dipset feels good.
When you're the Dipset.
when you're
good.
when you're the Dipset.
But you know what, man? That might be true sometimes. But there's always something in you.
Does the Dipset? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Something inside that says this shit ain't quite. I don't feel right about.
See, that's where your
With
raise
this
comes
leather
in.
coat.
But hold on. But you know where that comes in, bro? That's when you struggle with peace.
Right.
When
Yes.
you're not aligned,
Exactly.
you know something is off.
Exactly.
You don't sleep well.
That's right.
You might be addicted to different types of motherfucking drugs.
That's right.
You might be engaged in all kind of crazy behavior and addictions
Yep.
that you don't want to fucking own
Yep.
because you're not at peace with you.
Yep.
You know, them motherfuckers know that they're the Dipset. And it feels good, but what overshadows the feeling is the fear. So they're more afraid of changing than they are of the comfort of being the Dipset.
And sometimes, dog, it's something. Sometimes you can have shit that you've gone through that'll make you into the Dipset, dog, because you're afraid of what the fuck is gonna take for you to deal with the shit that you've been through, and stand on. I need to get through this shit and do that work.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? That'll bring you, and that is the peace part that you're missing. Like it's something just not right, and you could be. I mean, I'm pretty sure Dipset go to places and everybody love them. They get all the drinks, the bottles, the weed, whatever, the women, whatever they want.
And they feel
living the best
incomplete.
life.
They feel incomplete.
And they still go home in the quiet moments and feel like something ain't right with this shit, dog.
And let's talk about the fear of not being accepted is in that Dipset vacuum, right? The fear of not being accepted as opposed to, even if I'm not accepted, I'm still confident in my skills. I'm secure in my abilities, despite what the trends may say. And that was the Locks end of it.
Yeah.
Because they were coming out there with a bunch of jewelry on, except with the exception of Kiss. Nobody else had jewelry. This guy had on a candy green apple suit. The other dude had a black T-shirt with red fox on it. I think that was Red Fox on his shirt, chic. And it was just simple, but they were confident. There was a level of confidence that was displayed within one group versus the other, where it was a different kind of confidence that with Dipset. It was more of self-righteousness.
You could see where the focus was.
Right.
Yeah.
Our actions are speaking all the time, dude. Whether we know it or not. When you woke up today, you wanted to tell the world something about what you wore. You chose that shirt. You chose that motherfucking hat. You wanted to speak. And you used your clothes. That's what we use this. This nigga wanted to say something. He wanted to tell people I love music.
Yep.
I'm cool. I'm connected in this way to some other shit. I'm connected to this school. I'm connected to education.
Yep.
I know y'all, but I know that what the fuck y'all wearing represents who y'all are.
True.
Yeah.
So when them niggas decided to go to that goddamn verses, they wanted to tell people who they were.
Yeah. Yep.
And we've got to understand that we're all showing up and reflecting these and telling these stories and representing ourselves in all the same way.
Yep.
And that we're different parts of this shit at different points.
Yep.
Because it's hard for me. I can joke and feel sad, feel sorry for Dipset to a degree, but I will take that thought and feeling and direct it back to me so that I can understand how I'm showing up like that. Because I know I am.
Right.
I know I'm Dipset. So my next question is, after watching that shit, is where am I Dipset? That's my honest to God question.
Yeah.
I'ma look at these niggas be wild as a motherfucker,
Right.
with Louis out and all of that, and be like, how am I showing up like that in my life?
All of them, in every single way. The late, the unprepared, the motherfucker, just all over the place, dog. The arrogance, all that shit, dog. That's clean.
I'm showing up in that way in many parts of my life. And I can sit back and look at somebody else and laugh at them because they've chosen to expose themselves in that way. The thing I can say about us, I know motherfuckers look on this shit and be like, he too loud, he cussed too much, I don't like the tone of his voice, I don't like this, I don't like that, I don't da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Sometimes self-accountability comes into effect when you see or hear yourself. So do you think the actual Dipset, since everybody's Monday morning quarterback in this thing, are they going to go and look at this thing and say, hey,
We Dipset.
we Dipset.
I think they are.
And we off.
Now,
we about to go on tour.
because here's the thing. I might use, in the same way that I'm using them to reflect back, they're using them to reflect back. Now, the question is, what are you going to do?
Do about it.
Now you know you're Dipset.
Right.
Now what?
Now what?
Now, because that goes back to the change is hard.
Yeah.
You might want to be like, hey, man, I want to move or do something like this in a different way. The fact that me and you having this conversation, us three,
Yeah.
you're going to leave and you can be like, damn, I might be a Dipset. I might be Dipset in my relationship.
Right.
And you might go and take inventory and take stock and see how many motherfucking times you making excuses and making justifications. You can't dodge that.
Yep.
Yeah.
You
exists.
can't dodge it.
It
Because
exists.
now it exists.
That's right.
Now, so what do you do with that? Now, mind you, if you say, fuck it, I'm going to stay Dipset in this area.
I like Louis Vuitton.
I like Louis.
Leather sweatsuits. What's wrong with leather?
Then that's cool. We just got to accept the fact that we
Right.
them niggas. So when we laugh at them, we really laughing at us.
Yeah.
And be clean with that process.
Yeah.
And not judge it no way, shape, or form. But if you a do better nigga, if you to sharpen your iron type motherfucker to where you looking for opportunities to be better and to see how you're reflected into the world, you can look at them goofy niggas Louis'd out
Yeah.
as a path
Yeah.
to being a better, more rounded motherfucker.
Yeah. Man. That's
Or
an
even-
interesting take.
Or even as just a spark, dog. Sometimes it's just that
Yeah.
spark
Yeah.
that moves you to the next thing that keeps you going, dog. Sometimes it's not, and we always say this. We always end up here. I don't even know how. It's not these large ass leaps. It's always these small things, incremental things, and in that small space is where that process happens, where you become the locks. The locks are in those small advances, dog.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Not in these, it's not a destination,
Yeah,
it's always a journey. And in those spaces, that's where those locks exist.
Because the sad part is, a motherfucker will use this conversation like, damn, I really have been slighting my relationship. Let me go propose. No, nigga.
Nah, don't do that.
That ain't what we saying.
Don't do that.
Not saying it, but I'm saying, like, there's small things.
That's right.
Because all of this shit are really reflections.
That's right.
Because if you do a small thing, that small thing can be reflected.
No doubt.
That's right.
It's about detail.
That's
Like,
right.
you can reflect shit.
That's right.
Small things can be reflected to bigger things.
That's right.
And all of us have lost focus to detail. And this is a reminder that
Dipset.
we don't want to fall off focus. We have to be sharp, razor sharp as much as we can, because the small details define your whole entire trajectory.
Yep.
And
And
that
that
small details.
and that is a dog. That is a path. That is a journey, dog. That is
It's not a destination.
not a destination, because you'll never get there. You're always practicing, like you practice law. You never really become an expert at law. You always are practicing.
Right.
You're always mamoving towards it.
That's a good analogy.
No matter what, no matter where you fit and where you sit in that. But
Yeah, that was an incredible analogy, because I'm going to think about this.
that's why you're here, dog.
That's
That's the whole reason why you're here.
what? Am I Dipset?
Right. Today, did I Dipset this shit? Yeah, I did. Tomorrow I'm gonna try to do something different.
Like when I'm with my lady, I'm like, okay, am I Dipset in this?
That's right. Did I?
I need
How'd I show
to
up today?
D-block this thing.
You need to D-block it.
I need to D-block this thing. I need to really sharpen up. I'm not going to be perfect,
Right.
but I need to be prepared. I need to be measured. I need to think things through.
Adjust. I'm just
And
going to
then-
make this adjustment.
Right. Let's converse. Let's have a meeting of the minds at times. Let's
Yeah.
plan things.
And it ain't. Here's the thing, dog. That we say a lot. It ain't about. Well, for me, it ain't about necessarily saying, right? Then it's doing the thing.
Right.
Like, if I say today I'm Dipset, but tomorrow I'm going to get up and do something different. I ain't got to say it.
Right.
I just got to do it.
Just got to do it.
I just got to put the work in. That's it. Even if it's a matter of, I need to understand, why the fuck am I Dipsetting in this particular area? Why the fuck do I always do it like this? What the fuck is going on? Even that conversation with yourself and figuring those pieces out is part of you moving into that D-block space.
Well, how about this? How about we got to find a better way to find that lane to where we can just find maybe 10% of the day or week to have a Dipset moment.
Say that again.
Sometimes it might be okay to have a Dipset moment, right? After you've done the D block.
It's always
first.
okay to have a D-block moment. We always reserve the right, bro,
To have a Dipset moment.
to have a Dipset moment.
But you can't bask in that moment.
You use it as a path forward.
Right.
Correct.
All of it is just about using things as paths to another. We're just transitioning. Right. It's like an emotion. An emotion isn't bad. Feeling sad ain't bad. Now, feeling sad for 8 years straight might be a challenge.
Right.
But somebody hurting your motherfucking feelings ain't bad. It's what you do with that. Yeah. Why were you hurt, and what are you going to use? How are you going to take that emotion and energy and use it to do something else? So how do we we're not perfect. So perfect means we're going to Dipset.
Right.
And
not being perfect.
And Jada was dipsetting it in the first battle against Fabulous.
So, and he'd probably be dipsetting in his marriage.
Yeah.
He'd probably dipsetting with his diet. Mm-hmm. Who knows? With his kids. These are conversations he has to have with himself. Mm-hmm. So Dipset is a part of the process. Yep. So so when we see ourselves dipsetting, we can't beat ourselves up, bro.
That's right.
That's it. You can't. That's right. You just look at it and be like, oh, okay, I'm dipsetting there. What does that mean? Right. Why am I dipsetting there? To your point, just use it to
identify
to steer some. But how do you know you're going in the wrong direction if you don't know you're going in the wrong direction?
That's right. That's right.
So, like, how does Dipset know they Dipset? It's self-awareness. And that's a part of, like, the relationship and having the conversations. When we with these women, we invite them into our process. They're not our process.
Right.
They're invited to participate and witness.
Right.
And there are parts of the process that they don't see, that they can't see, that we verbalize. Right. And that's when we share and we communicate and the best way that we can. Yeah. And then we create spaces that invite them to share and to bring us into their process. Yep. Because they're not going to see it all. Like, your girl don't know might not necessarily know what the deepest, darkest feelings and fears that you have about a thing. And that might be showing up in a way that she doesn't even really understand. But because she loves you, she'll sit back and watch you go through the process and figure it out. Yeah. But we fuck up sometimes by not sharing the process. And leave room for them to misinterpret the shit.
And draw their own conclusions.
Right.
Right.
And we still trying to figure it out. Because sometimes it can be like, hey, baby, look, I don't know what I'm going to do about this thing over here. I don't know what this thing meant. I could be buying a house. I could be getting married. Like I don't know what that is. I'm still processing this thing to where it looks, this is how it looks over here. And because we the type of motherfuckers as men, we want to have shit mapped all the motherfucking way out. We want the path. We want the GPS coordinates, longitude and latitude before we want to lay some shit out to a woman. And next thing you know, 10 years of motherfucking passed, and we still in the process of figuring it out, and they'll be like, well, I didn't know what the fuck you wanted. Right. Because I'm still trying to motherfucking figure it out.
Right.
I'm victim of that. Like, sometimes I'll be like, damn, I forget to invite you. I forget to share.
Yeah, guilty.
I'm thinking about solving this problem over here, and I forgot to tell you that I'm thinking about it. So because she don't bring it up, because niggas is keen on telling motherfuckers bitch and nagging, right? So she ain't nagging, and we ain't bringing it up. So now it just starts to look like the dude just don't even motherfucking care. And you've been spending 6 months trying to figure out how you gonna get this down payment for this motherfucking house for y'all to do some shit, but you have forgotten to even invite her in on the motherfucking process.
Right.
And you had all the best intentions in the motherfucking world.
Right.
But for the fact you're internalizing so much of a strategy and not, being forthcoming with certain details, like you just pointed out, it allows the other person to draw their own conclusions and come up with their own skepticism.
And most of their conclusions are going to be reflections of their insecurities.
Yeah, so true.
And that's not, everybody does that, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's not a knock necessarily. It's just
Yeah.
and that could end up coming out in an interaction that is counterproductive. And that's what part where I feel like men leading in relationships
Right.
is really about setting that motherfucking stage.
Yeah.
Like that's how we lead, with setting the stage. I'm gonna build this motherfucking platform.
Right.
I'm gonna put these goddamn speakers up, and I'm gonna blast to you our truth.
Right.
Inspire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you getting on motherfucking board,
Yeah.
and she can be like, okay.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. I felt like I was motherfucking rant.
Well, I caught the Holy Ghost.
Yeah,
It was great.
we're at time, dog. So what we take away from this today?
I'm dipsetting, bro.
Today? Or just in general?
I've been dipsetting.
Hey man, we all have, man.
Yeah.
You've been de-blocking too, so
I've been. Yeah, that's a good point.
we you know.
Yeah, I think I need to be, I think I'm in a 50-50 crossroad on that. And I think I need to be on my locks right now.
Dog, 50% is
Yeah.
It's
I don't
good.
give up who you are. You shooting 50%, dog. You all right.
Yeah,
Okay. Shit.
that's a 50% is a stat that is exceptional in baseball, right? Like when you batting 500,
Right.
That now it wouldn't work in basketball.
Nah, if you
but that
shooting
motherfucker.
50%
But you know
from
what?
three.
50%
From three-pointer, that's
from
good.
from full court.
Exactly, dog. That's amazing.
But let's just talk about the foul line, though.
Yeah,
Foul line,
foul
not so
line
much.
50%. You getting
Right,
you
not
getting
so much.
cut.
Yeah,
Well,
that's-
you shooting 50% from three or from the half court.
Yeah.
Shit, you on to something.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to be Ben Simmons at the foul line, right? And so I need that attention to detail, and I need to be able to recognize when I'm dipsetting it. And sometimes I'm still gonna dipset it, but I've got to know that I'm there so that
Yeah.
I can sharpen that
Yeah. Yeah.
and bounce out of that.
Cause the
I think we all
motherfucker,
the
cause
same.
what's hard, bro. This is how you take power and own it. When you can look at somebody and be like, I'm dipsetting today.
Right.
What the fuck they gonna tell you?
Right.
Yeah.
You 8 Mile in that shit. Yeah, I'm dipsetting today. I
Right.
know I was dipsetting. Well, why are you doing it? I don't know. I just felt like motherfucking dipsetting. I don't have to
asking me
explain it.
stupid,
But,
right.
but now that you know,
Right.
you act accordingly.
Right.
Yeah.
Motherfucker. I'm dipsetting today.
Right. So
So-
be ready.
I reserve the right
Right.
as a human being
Right.
to dipset.
That's right.
Yeah.
I got my Louis on. I got on the do-rag.
Louis out.
hanging down.
And there's a certain amount of freedom that goes with it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Locks and ain't, that requires effort.
Yeah.
You have to plan, like at least when you dipsetting, but that's a balance, because you got to dipset periodically so you can know what it feels like
Correct.
to be the motherfucking locks.
But if you're dipsetting all the time, there's a certain level of consequences that are going to follow
That's
that.
right.
Yes, and that is a sign of maturity.
Yep.
Yeah.
Being able to anticipate and mitigate that kind of shit, because that's man shit. But a part of it too, like man shit ain't, because like as much as we talking about these niggas as dipset, they might be loxing in other areas of their life.
That's true. That is clean.
They might be. Like it ain't an all or nothing.
That's right.
And here's what's making it, but he kept, blah. Because here's the beauty. We all both.
Yep.
Even them niggas is both.
Yep.
Right.
So it's about how aware we are of when we're playing those roles.
That's right.
And how open we are with sharing that with other motherfuckers.
Because there's some post concert footage of that event where they're in the Lox's dressing room and they're just dumbing out, right? And I was like, these aren't the same dudes I just witnessed on the stage about 10 minutes ago. These dudes are just pouring drinks on the carpet in the Madison Square Garden,
Yeah.
acting a fool.
Yeah. Dipsetting.
There was Dipset.
Dipset.
But they recognized the moment to where they could Dipset it.
Yeah.
When they were on the stage, it was about let's win first.
Yeah.
Right. There was that execution and that sense of preparedness. And I mean, this is great that we're talking about this, because that analogy is so real for every human being.
That's right.
But it's about identifying that part of your life where you are dipsetting it. And
that contrast.
And if you can recognize it in that moment, in the spur of the moment, is this the time where I need to sharpen the edges to get into the D block tuned up method of focus?
Yep.
So that way I don't slip up. And there's a time and place where we can just dipset it.
Yeah.
And lay back, loosen up, and let it hang a little bit.
Yep.
It's time and place for it.
Throw the Louis on.
Right. Put on a bunch of Louis jackets, a couple of handkerchiefs,
Shit,
everything.
Reserve the right.
Look like a pile of clothes.
That's right. I reserve the right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to Dipsetting it with you cats, man. And I appreciate.
Likewise.
Listen, man,
We need to go overseas for that.
we're gotta make sure we get our motherfucking visas back.
Get the visas, man.
Shots.
But you feel good, man? How you feel?
Oh, this feels great. Yeah, this was great, man.
Glad you could. What prompted this? He sent me a text. He was like, "Dude, at some point in time, we gonna have to talk about this last conversation." I was like, "Well, what if we?"
Right.
I said we got to talk about this because I know you watched it, and we got to talk about how this is going to transcend going forward.
Yeah.
Right? Because I just thought this was a game changer.
Yeah.
And New York needed this kind of, because this is like to me, this is like when Illmatic came out, and it just changed how these niggas wrote their rhymes. Because before, prior to that, they're like hibbity hibbity hup hup diggity diggity, you know, like that's how they were rapping, the DOS effects and all that. Nas came out and he brought it back to that Rakim kind of penmanship.
Yeah.
Right, that detail, and they all sharpened their pens up, and then we just got to a point. Just talking about New York. We got to a point in New York because we got to talk about New York. This is where it was birthed.
Yeah.
You know, we were all inspired by the early days of it. We're old enough to recognize Planet Rock and all that stuff, White Lines. We saw all that shit.
Right.
We knew hip hop came from New York. We were influenced by it. Then we took a piece of it and we transformed it to what we wanted it to be in our own lane.
Yeah.
Where we're from.
Yeah.
Or what's around us and our surroundings. But it couldn't have been done without those guys in the South Bronx kicking it off.
Yeah.
And what happened is generations later, they lost their way, man. They lost a sense of their real identity. And this hopefully can be the catalyst that allows these young folks not to just kind of come up with some monolithic crap, but do whatever they're doing, talk about whatever you want to talk, but have a level of preparedness, execution, focus, and more importantly, identity. Don't be afraid to be yourself. Don't be afraid to be a New Yorker. Don't be afraid to boast that accent that y'all have. Don't try to be me.
Yeah.
Don't try to sound like me. Be yourself. But you could talk about the same shit we're talking about, but be yourself. That has to exist in order for hip hop to be in this continuum, because it's kind of like, I hate saying this because I hate this team and I hate to bring up another sports reference. If the Knicks and the Lakers are good, the NBA's in a good place because of those markets. If New York and LA are artistically solid, in addition to these other important regions, hip hop is in a good place going forward.
But you know what? You don't know this about him. He's a hell of a skateboarder, bro. He could have actually gone pro. He had an opportunity to go pro when he was in high school, going to college. He chose to go to college. One of the things that I observe about skateboarders, man, especially with you being a black skateboarder, bro, that's not a popular motherfucking thing, especially back in the 90s.
Yeah, back in the day it wasn't, no.
So the whole concept of embracing who you are and reflecting that in like your style and doing that in a room and in an environment of people who are actually trying to get you to do something else, we can't lose sight of the fact that that's not an easy motherfucking thing to do.
Man. Right.
And
assimilation is a hell of a drug.
And without going too much into like your like shit that you was going through back then with that shit, like it's hard to say this is what you want to do and then go do it when you got all of these other motherfucking pressures and
got
shit.
A million doubters.
And so as we've gotten older, we understood what we sacrificed to a degree. And because it's something that we sacrificed, it means something to us. So we want that shit to mean something to other people.
Right.
And it does have value, but it has value to whatever degree the challenges are that you have to overcome to achieve them.
Right.
And so authenticity in the form that we know it to be is changing now. It's not the same as it was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Good point.
And so, and hip hop is actually, I feel, because the world is smaller.
Right.
It really is.
It's not as big as it was when we were growing up, man. Like, I can send a tweet and have motherfuckers all over the world saying and thinking what I'm thinking.
In real time.
In real time. Yeah. Like, it's just, things are just moving too fast. And so they're actually challenged even more with the concept of authenticity because there aren't really too many original thoughts or things actually being shared.
Right.
I'm listening to like UK hip hop. Like new UK artists.
In real time. And a motherfucker who don't have a record deal. Yeah. Right. Why? Because the niggas on motherfucking YouTube or SoundCloud or Spotify. And he can put his own music up there directly.
Yeah, and also, man, it goes back to there's still powers, or not even powers. There's still companies that profit from music. And no matter if they don't make as much as they used to now, they're still, I read a stat, it was like $200 billion or $200 million they made off labels made off of music. So there's still gatekeepers involved. So the more we recognize that and also recognize that there's so much more than these, I mean, what they funnel to us, it's as broad as you can get of what's out there. So there's always something to discover out there. There's always something to be out there. You don't always have to go through this funnel of this record label because I'm assuming that's the easiest way, right? In terms of you don't have to take the risk. You're not risking your own money. You're not doing, they just kind of put you in this machine and they spit out, whatever. But, if your art is what you're focused on, you can just do it and it'll reach the tribe of people that you wanted to reach to because the whole world is open to you.
And it's all about core following at this point.
Right. And you don't have to there's no, to me, culturally, we don't control it. So we shouldn't put stock in it. What's given to us is what somebody wants to give to us. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. In terms of hip hop or whatever you can call popular music now. But we don't control it. So we really shouldn't, our hip hop should be somewhere else. Because it's not coming from Universal. It's not coming from these record labels. It's coming from wherever we find it and wherever we say that it's hip hop and not allowing, we're lamenting hip hop because it's coming from this thing that doesn't give a fuck about hip hop.
But that's what we're focused on. And this is what I mean when I say it's shifting. Yeah. Because the crisis now it's a crisis of culture, I think. Yeah. And maybe even to some degree, because what's being actually sold now or pushed are lifestyles.
Yep.
Right.
Gay.
Yep.
Political affiliation.
Yep. Economic status.
Clothes, branding, lifestyles, and your value and who you are and all of these are wrapped up into the tribes because music is transcending all of this stuff. So they have to, and so they're selling, if I'm selling you a lifestyle, I can sell you all kind of other shit behind that. Yeah. I can sell you who to fuck.
Yeah.
I can sell you what to eat.
That's what they're doing.
I can sell you what to wear. Yeah. I can tell you how to wear. I can tell you how to talk. I can tell you all of that kind of shit. And they understood that hip hop actually possessed the ability to do that.
Right.
Yeah, it was the comfortable medium.
Unlike
for that.
any other genre.
Unlike any other motherfucking genre.
Yeah.
You got motherfuckers in Korea who don't know Wu-Tang, or who don't know English, but they know Wu-Tang songs.
Right.
And they dressing like them in the whole 9 yards, the
got
way of
ladies-
life and all of that.
Or you got beautiful specimens, beautiful women who are already beautiful, who are going to go ahead and objectify themselves and get surgically enhanced to get more attention, more of a following on social media.
Lifestyle, TikTok, Instagram models. These are lifestyles that are being pushed. So the culture that we hold strongly to is actually losing its value
Yeah.
because it's not the product anymore. The product is the lifestyle.
Right. So it's really not the culture. It's really and we're looking in the wrong place for the culture. The
culture is still there.
We're expecting these labels to give us the culture that we want, but it's not there.
The
That's
culture's
not what
there.
they're-
The culture's there to us.
Yeah.
And that's why we talk to these millennials about that. They don't give a fuck about that.
Nah, they don't.
Right.
They don't care at all about that.
It's so subterranean now, right? Like it's beyond just, the mainstream and what you're pointing to, what the major labels wants us to consume. Due to the advent of YouTube and just Spotify and all these other vehicles where people can just find these other subterranean lanes of art, they're able to go there. And it could be 70,000 people that see it the same way. And let's say there's the artist that's creating the music. That person knows that they're going to have 70 to 100,000 followers, regardless of what they come out with. And if that person is reaping the benefits of 75% of every unit sold, they're making a very comfortable living. They're never going to go platinum.
Right.
And this is what's allowing a lot of the people we grew up with that have been forgotten about to still maintain a good life making their music because they're putting it out independently. And there's no Universal or Capitol Records putting their claws in and dictating what should be done. They're doing it themselves. The beats may sound a little cheaper, but the quality is still there.
But those are the gems, right?
Yep.
And there's a reason why that there are these main components
Right.
in mainstream music, because it's the lifestyle that they're selling: violence, drug use, objectification of women, materialism. Like these things are built into all of it because that's what's needing to be sold.
Yep.
I am the coolest motherfucker on earth.
Yep.
If I'm treating bitches like shit in a nice whip
Yeah.
Yeah.
with some diamonds on,
Yeah.
with money in my pocket,
Yeah.
high as a motherfucking helicopter.
You know what's crazy?
And I got a gun.
That was existent 30 years ago when we were witnessing it. However, back then,
Was it though?
yeah, we had those lanes existing back then, but we had
Like, was I
things
cool because of it?
It-
Was I cool? Was I cool because
Depends.
I was shooting up niggas?
Depends, right? Like there were some people that would watch Compton's Most Wanted, right? Despite the fact that they were telling you lessons, they were giving you outcomes, grim outcomes, but they'd also glorify the lifestyle too. And there were some people that only got that snapshot. But when you came home from school, you would watch Rap City or Yo MTV Raps, and that's not the only lane you were presented.
Yeah.
You got a De La Soul, you got some Luke, you got this, you got that, and you could choose. It was a cafeteria selection, right?
Yeah.
And today, I think it's been kind of funneled into one stream, right? One stream of thought, and that's the only thing that's shaping things mainstream-wise. We really benefited from being able to see what we saw in our lanes, and we saw MTV, and we got a nice collection of different entertainment, and we were able to kind of like be influenced by those vehicles that were presented to us, and I think there's a generation of folks that are being robbed because there's so much creative music and artwork that's out there, but it's levels deep. You've got to be plugged into the right networks to access it today. And there's some folks out there that just don't know how to get there. They don't have the big brothers. They don't have the uncles, the fathers, and the mothers, and the bigger sisters to show them the light. Hey, you can enjoy this here, but did you know that this was there too?
But we got to accept the fact too, man, that motherfuckers just A lot of people just want to be entertained, man.
That's right.
It's like our podcast is not going to blow up.
It might, man. You don't know.
It ain't. Because we're not entertaining people, man.
That's Dipset.
Like we talking about locks, bro.
Yeah.
Some motherfucker like you. It takes a very special individual. Look at the people in our lives, man. How many motherfuckers do you think listen to Cam and Samuels? Or listen to like Hot 97, who will sit up and listen to long, drawn out, hour interviews with people they don't even know. Because it's entertainment.
Right.
Correct.
If sitting down with people who you know, he ain't gonna watch it, so it don't even matter. My uncle gonna send me, shout out Uncle Pun. My uncle gonna send me a motherfucking DJ K-Slay video to watch a 45-minute fucking rap. I'm not watching that.
Oh, that 100 MCs?
Yeah,
thing?
and he gonna tell me,
God.
oh man, you got time.
No, I don't.
I have no interest in watching a 47-minute rap.
Guess what?
And you're gonna tell me that I can make time to watch a motherfucker I don't know rap, but you can't make time to watch your nephew's podcast where he talking about helping motherfuckers and healing himself and talking about shit to try to be a better human being.
That's real.
We want to be entertained.
Yep.
And you know what? And back to Kevin Samuels, if he weren't harsh to the ladies who call his show, he wouldn't have the following that he has.
And it's not a knock. I think it's more of because I think people probably are learning, but to whatever degree that they feel they are, but there's level to entertainment and education.
Right.
Yeah.
They're different things, man.
Yep.
One can be present in the other, but when you talking about being a better human being, you gotta be in extreme discomfort to create a new groove in your life.
Yep.
Right.
And most people don't seek that.
Yep.
Most people don't seek trying to kill the ego inside of themselves so that they can be a better life partner to their spouse.
And they avoid it at all costs.
And they avoid that shit at all costs because they waiting for their motherfucking life spouse to do some shit.
Yep.
So I get that this shit ain't gonna be popular. Not to the degree, I'm reserving that. So when a motherfucker want to tap in and want to learn some shit or want to think different, want to have a different thought about something, we ain't talking about people. This is probably the most we done talked about people outside of us in the 30 motherfucking things that we've done, man. Because we don't generally like talking about people.
Right. Right.
But if we can find a way to hold up something and see how we're reflected in it, and respect that thing that we're holding up in a way that doesn't make it feel like we're objectifying or what's the word I'm looking for?
Patronizing.
Exploiting. Then it's cool to do that, but because we got work to do, man.
Show.
I don't give a fuck how them niggas could have got Louis, they whole body tattooed with Louis. That ain't gonna change the fact that I still got shit to do in my life, man. To be a better motherfucking human. Right. It's funny to look at.
Yeah.
Funny to see this nigga sweating profusely. I got on the motherfucking lawn. Look, people, I'm sitting up here talking about a nigga. It's the summer. Why ain't got on no shorts?
Man.
Hey. I'm dipsetting right now.
But the way how y'all like brought forth that analogy, man, I needed that. I really needed to hear that, right? Because I didn't even, I could see it existing, but I didn't think about it in those terms, right?
It's crazy.
And then I didn't do the self-reflection of it. Where do I come into this, right?
Right.
And there it is.
Both sides.
This is what makes this, and I'm not really a big versus guy, because I always felt like the opposite of what versus stands for was always presented to us on versus. Call it a celebration. Don't call it versus if we're just celebrating each other's catalogs.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a battle era dude, and if you say something is a versus, I want people to be in a ring, and I want people swinging
like that shit,
like this shit,
right?
Because that's what made this stand out, and this is why this is going to be a timeless thing that's talked about as we go on from that Tuesday and beyond. This isn't going to be something that's going to be dead in 6 months. People will still be talking about this moment because it was confrontational, it was aggressive, and it was the two mediums that you guys were speaking of, right? Level of focus and preparedness, and just kind of hanging it and being loose and winging it. How does that look? Man, how do I look when I'm winging it? How do I look when I'm prepared?
That's it.
And to that point, shout out to the brothers, man.
Yeah.
Like, we love them.
Yeah, they
all
do.
just the same.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
know they got
absolutely.
past and stories, and I just appreciate them for just being who they are and sharing that, man, and giving us a chance to just reflect on our shit.
And let's
Looking at
look
them.
at this too, right? Let's look at the unity that happened afterwards,
Yeah.
right? As black men coming together, they had several YouTube videos with Styles and Cam, and they just hugging it up, talking about how they've known each other since like 1995.
Yeah.
You know, I allowed Styles to stay at my house in 1995. You know, when he needed a place to stay and get on his feet. You know, we're brothers. This is entertainment.
Yeah.
They reinforced that heavily after the show. Don't take this stuff too seriously. This is about competitiveness.
Yeah.
And this is what we needed to inject back into our sport.
Yeah.
But we love these dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was dope.
And I love y'all, man.
We had time, man. We had
Yeah, this is great.
You good?
long, yeah, real good, man. It was a good one. Appreciate you, bro.
Man, I can't wait to watch that, man. That was great.
Yeah, yeah.
It'll be out in what, October, November?
Let's do it. Let's say around Thanksgiving.
Appreciate you, bro.
Bro,
Thank you, man.
they even let me be a part of this, man.
Yeah.
Much love. Next time.
Yep. All right, man.
Peace out.
Peace.